Alright, in today's episode we're going to be doing front brake upgrade for the GMC Yukon XL Denali truck and front struts upgrade with a 2-inch lift kit for the front, and we're going to do 2-inch lift kit for the rear too. For the front strut, you guys have to cut the bolts that come with the strut. You're gonna cut it off. I use the grinder to cut them. I put my spacer on top just for it to be flat against the shock towers of the vehicle. The spacer itself is 1 inch for the front, thus giving you 2-inch total. Total is gonna be like 2.5 because it's brand new suspension and stuff. Over the year, like next year, it's gonna drop for like 1/2 inch, almost 1 inch in the front. When you're doing this, your suspension, the bottom legs are angled on an angle. So they have an angle going outward from the engine, not inward. Don't do it because it took me 2 hours to do driver's side, figuring it out. I thought maybe I could bend these tabs because it's a bushing. We could bend it in place to the A-arm and just bolt it together. No, it's not gonna work and stuff. So what I did, I got spring compressors from Amazon. Got those, I put them on one on each side. I cranked them down. So it gave me just enough to give me a little space, a little bit load off the bottom plate here. And then I took my World War II era thingy jiggy, whatever this thing is, wrench, and I put it like here, like that, and I just twisted it. I twisted it to the mark of that, like, because it's a triangle. So this triangle, this bowl is going to be facing outward to the wheel. So I just aligned it with that, with the angle, that slope going outward. So now it's easy to install. So I learned my lesson from the driver's side. We're going to do passenger side today. Discs we have. Other thing for you guys to get is the pins, the sliders for the caliper. So we got new bolts and new pins kind of thing. They were like $13.99 for the front and $16.99 for the rear from Part Source. This is the driver's side pins. These are completely cacats, rusted. They don't even slide in on do nothing. So I removed these. These are going to the garbage. So what else? You need a jack, all your impacts, hammer, crowbar, mini crowbar, pair of pliers, brake clean, WD-40. Your best friend in this whole install is going to be PB Blaster. This is a must-have to spray on all the bolts and stuff. Give it like half an hour and then start going at it with the impact. And you're gonna need anti-seize for the brake components and stuff, so it's easier to take it off next time when you're gonna do the brake job. The rotors that we're using and the brake pads is a kit that we got off Amazon. They're the cheapest and most upgrade because these are drilled rotors and stuff. These are green, dark green. They're not black in color. They're the anti-rust coating on them and stuff. So that's what we're using. This is the rear suspension with all the resistors to bypass the computer of the truck. This is going to be later on. We're not going to be doing it in this episode. Kind of thing. We're just going to install the brakes and the struts for the front. All this stuff is the rear. This is going to be part 1. The rear is going to be part 2 of video series because don't got time to do everything right now. And what else? A clamp or a C-clamp to push your pistons in the caliper back into place. And oh, whole lot of drivers and bits and all that for your impacts and your wrenches and all that. I'm gonna go through step by step what I'm using kind of thing, but this is my setup right now. And it's just so, we got driver's side. Driver's side is done. So we got the rotor, brake pads all done, pins are all done, the strut with the lift spacer in there. On the driver's side, I already loosened the sway arm, sway bar here, so it just has like 2 threads on the top bolt, so you have all this space here. I'm gonna go on the passenger side and we're gonna loosen that one up too. You have to do this to push down the A-arms, the upper and lower A-arm, push it down for the new suspension to go into place. So that's the driver's side. We're gonna move on to the passenger side. What are we doing? All right, okay, 19 mil. All right, first things first. After you jack up the vehicle, I use the center cross member to put my 12-ton jack in there. Put air to it, lifted the truck. I chocked the back wheels so the truck doesn't move anywhere. Then I put 2 jacks on both rails, bed rails, whatever, frame rails. And then I put the front and rear, the front tires on driver and passenger side underneath as an insurance policy if the truck does want to fall down. After you do all that, then you could start with removing the caliper, then your caliper mount, and then your disc, and then the sway bar. You're gonna loosen that up. Then you're gonna attack the spring, the strut assembly, and remove that out. And then the last thing is removing the auto leveling system on the truck. This sensor here, it's only 1 bolt, and this thing, you take a pair of pliers, snap it off, and unplug it from the thing, throw it out in the garbage, and that's it. To remove the caliper, you're going to be using 19 mil and air gun. Wiggle, wiggle. It gives access to this caliper that is destroyed. As you know, live, the piston here is all chewed up like that. If I was you, if you guys had this type of truck, I'll tell you replace the caliper and stuff, but this is me and I'm gonna try to reuse it. Take off the pad. So this is the outer pad and this is the inner pad. Oh fuck. It's completely closed. Yeah. See, you're grinding the rotor. This is really bad. This is the inner pad. What's left of it. It's metal to metal contact. It ground it right into the rotor. So it's past overdue to be replaced. So that's cacasse. So the pins got stuck and it just destroyed everything else. Took out everything else because it was all crooked and stuff. Every time you press the brake on the truck. Mm-hmm. Your 18 millimeter socket. Take off the caliper mount. 2 bolts. Okay, we're gonna start removing the caliper mount. I removed one bolt, but I suggest you guys get hardened bits, drivers, because I used this one, it snapped, so it cracked. So this one's garbage now, 18 mil. I got this one. I had to find it in my stash. I was like, oh yeah, I need to find this one so I don't break anymore. So I found that. Put it in there first. That's it. I got 2 bolts out. There goes your caliper mount. Here's your caliper mount. See, this pin is welded to the metal. We're gonna use a pair of vice grips on it, remove it. This one you can remove, but look how rusted it is. This is kakats. You could clean it up with a wire brush and some brake clean and reuse it, but in my situation, in my history of these pins on different vehicles, throw them out. Throw them out, throw them in the garbage, and buy new ones and you'll be okay. So that's the caliper mount. Now the rotor. You got the rotor here. And on the rotor, we're gonna use a good old hammer. Let's hammer it off. I already sprayed penetrating oil on it. So there's your stock rotor. So the face of it looks okay. The back, there we go. It's grinded. This is really bad, unsafe and stuff. So this goes into the garbage. We're gonna clean up the hub here and stuff, brake clean with a rag, and then we're gonna put anti-seize on it, put the new rotor on top, and you'll be good to go. But in our situation, we're gonna go after the strut assembly. I'm gonna do that. All right, guys. We're gonna start by spraying everything down, all the bolts that we're gonna be working on for removing the strut. The 3 bolts on top, 2 bolts on the bottom of the shock, the sway bar. Where I sprayed it down, getting that ready to be loosened up. First thing, we're gonna be removing this sensor here for the leveling kit that comes stock with the vehicle. It has this rod right here. Just take a pair of pliers and just twist it off like that. And that's it. There's your arm. Then I'm going to be taking 13 mil driver. Removing the bolt. 1 bolt. Gets you access to the sensor. It has a plug on the back here. So just wiggle, unplug it. That's it. This plug, we're going to be cutting off the end here and soldering these wires to a resistor to trick the computer that it thinks that everything's okay with air suspension. This sensor is kakat's garbage. At least this one works better than the driver's side. Okay, we're gonna do the sway arm now. So I got 14 mil nut, my impact on the bottom, and 14 mil wrench on top. So we're gonna leave it like that. There's a couple of threads on the bolt. I'm gonna leave the bolt. So we're gonna leave that so it gives us more room to flex the suspension when we're installing the strut. So the bottom bolts for the strut assembly is a 15 mil. that thing is stuck on there. You can't cut it off. There we go.
There it goes.
Okay. That's the bolt. Let's see. That metal fused to the rusted bolt, and that's it. So we have to cut it off. So that's garbage anyways. The kit comes with new bolts. So now the bottom is loose on the strut. Now we attack the 3 bolts on top of the shock tower. We're using an 18 mil drive. For that, using the 18 mil and the extension, I think 12-inch extension, impact. Got me those bolts out. Now using like a little crowbar to wedge the shock out of place. Push it out. So I push it out of the way like that. Using a pair of these crowbars, you can wedge the bottom down and it will loosen the strut assembly. Now you could just wiggle it straight down through the A-arms onto the floor. Like that. That's it. There's your old strut. This is your old rusty strut. Look at that thing. Past overdue to be replaced. And this goes into the garbage. Hardware kit, new bolts, new nuts for the new suspension strut. Got 3 bolts on top. Nylon locking nuts. That's what they are. Blue little ring. Remove those, put them on the side. Now, remember, you got a triangle. 2 in the back, 1 in the front. And your bottom plate is angled out, not into the engine, out the engine. To put in the new strut, put them in like this. From the top, wiggle. Get line up the top bolts, both holes. Wiggle, wiggle. Get a nut. Start the nut. So we got 1 bolt holding it. Do a second. we got that. Now that other one we're gonna leave. Now comes the fun part. So you got your little crowbars. You're gonna fish your crowbar underneath the new suspension. So this whole thing, you're pushing down on the A-arms, straight down until the top A-arm hits the bump stop, and then you could put in the arm. Okay guys, after a lot of swearing and cussing, you're gonna be needing a pry bar, a couple like more pry bars, and a hammer to get the strut assembly into place. It's sitting in place now. The bolts are in there right now as guides, just holding the spring down. Next step is you're gonna put on this silver piece on top, and then you're gonna tighten everything down, and then on top of that you're gonna put a nut, locking nut on top, like insurance policy, and that you're gonna use a 5/8 nut driver. Okay, so that's done. Go on top and do the 3 bolts on the shock tower. The other side sway bar. Sway bar is done on both sides, and that's it. All right guys, 2 days later we got some new calipers for the front end of the truck of the Denali. I painted it yellow. It's been 10 or 15 years since I ever painted calipers any type of color. Just say it's the wife's truck, why not? Let's do something different and stuff. Alright guys, let's start installing this. Thing I do with any caliper, if you're putting it on back onto your vehicle, take anti-seize and I put anti-seize on the pistons themselves of the caliper so they don't stick to the pads. So just put it over. It doesn't have to be perfect, just a light coat to cover the metal so it doesn't rust to the pads. Now on the other side, so these have got 3 lips here, so I'm going to put some anti-seize on that. Alright guys, so we got anti-seize inside on the pistons and on the other side. Put it in. Already installed the rotor. I got a drilled rotor for the front. So we got brand new calipers, we got brand new caliper mounts, brand new pins in the mount so they slide good. New pads for the front. The pads even on top, the top and the bottom of the ears. I put anti-seize there. Now just install it. Take your caliper. Make sure your bleeder valve is on top, so you can bleed all the air out of the system when it's time to bleed the brakes. Now tighten the bolts. The bolts are going to be this bolt and the pin. They're both 19 millimeter. I'm going to do this finger tight right now, and then tighten it down with a wrench. Once you tighten both of the bolts, now time to put your brake line onto the caliper. I'm going to remove the old bolt. That's here. I'm going to install a new bolt and 2 new copper washers. Alright guys, I got my new bolt, 2 new copper washers for the caliper. So first bolt, copper washer of the smooth end, it's going to go on top. Take your line, put it in, and then on the bottom you're going to put your other copper washer with the rough side, the flat side, to the back like this, and then take off the little cap here, and then insert the bolt, hold it in place, tighten it down, finger tight. Now I'm going to use, I got a 12 mil wrench here. Alright guys, we're going to use 11 mil. Tighten down the bolt. Just hand tighten it. Don't go crazy on it. And that's it. We're done for the brakes. Now time to lift the truck back up and put on the wheels. That concludes part 1 of the front end strut install and brakes for the front. Now we're going to move on to the rear of the truck. That's going to be more fun. We're going to do springs, we're going to be doing brakes, we're going to lift kit again, 2-inch. Alright guys, have a good one. Thank you for watching and stuff. Please like, subscribe, and like our channel or whatever. Alright guys, have a good one.